Hello everyone, this is Sajad from Stealth Amazon FBA. Today with me, I've got Ben. He was actually one of my earliest students. He now supports me mentoring new students, particularly here in the UK. Do you want to introduce yourself, Ben?
Yes, so welcome guys. My name is Ben and yes, I started selling off on Amazon back in 2018 and I believe I was one of the first students from Sajad. I actually was the one that bought his course and used it to learn the ways around Amazon, which obviously has changed significantly over the last 2 years. But yeah, one of the more, I guess, successful students. I don't know if is that fair to say, but yeah, I was able to actually now start selling full time on Amazon, leave my job 9 to 5, or more like get fired from my job, and still survive ever since the lockdown started, really.
Yeah, and just confirm, you've also done over 7 figures now, Ben. Is that right?
Yes, since starting now, we have reached 1,050,000. I literally checked that yesterday. So yeah, not
Okay,
not not bad, not bad.
fantastic. Definitely one of my better students then. So the purpose of this video, what I thought we'd go through today is I want to discuss with Ben. So for the students who have enrolled via my training, we do get the same questions again and again in different sections of the training. And what I thought would be really useful for all of you viewers is if we cover some of the most common ones and also some of our answers in brief. And I may joke about it as we go along, but I've made all of these mistakes. I'm sure Ben has made several as well. I'm
We
hoping
still
with
are
my
making
help
them.
actually
Yeah.
minimize the number of mistakes. And also just remember as well, before we go through this, there's more than one way of doing something. And sometimes there might be 5 ways of doing something. None of them are wrong as such. It's just each one has its pros and cons, if that makes sense. So I'm going to shoot off the first question to Ben, and the first section we'll cover is account setup. So all of the
Yeah.
kind of most common questions we get when it comes to account setup. So Ben, what have you experienced so far?
From my experience, is that the questions initially is, do I have to set up as a sole trader? Do I have to start up as a limited company? And those sorts of questions. And what I do tell my students is eventually you are starting up a business. Okay. You're not going to sell an item here and there on eBay. You are starting a full-fledged working business that should be on company's house there. You should be doing taxes for and so on and so forth. So if you're going to take it seriously, in my personal opinion, start off as a limited company, do everything from the very beginning, set up their own business bank account, which obviously we talk about in the mentorship and in the course as well. And yeah, just really, it's for a lot of people that have never had a business, this can be quite overwhelming in the very beginning. But throughout the course, it does specify where do you need to do, where do you need to go, and so on and so forth. So I think starting off as a limited company is the first sort of big hurdle that most people need to overcome when it comes to setting everything up. And then after that, the next sort of most frequent question is, which business bank account do you use? Do you go for one of the high street retailers, which I did? I went with Lloyd's, and I believe you did as well. But
Yes.
now with so many fintechs that have come out, Tide, Starling Bank, World First, and Revolut, and so on and so forth, I personally think, given the COVID situation that's going on at the moment, I would actually start with one of these fintech banks because they're much more, they understand e-commerce better. Their KYC, their onboarding process is much faster as well, and you get much better conversion rates and much better, much better accounts, much better interfaces. You just want to move on with the time, so to speak.
Yep.
So yeah, those are my two questions for the kind of the very introductory part. Needless to say, that's not really a question, but something that I also really wanted to highlight is that all the information that you put on Amazon, all the information that you put on Company's House, it needs to be 100% correct and verifiable, because at
Yes.
any point Amazon will pull you up either via email, or I have had students that actually get a call from Amazon stating, okay, what is your passport, where have you come from, what's your residence, and so on and so forth. So
Yes.
anything you put on Company's House or Amazon, it needs to be 100% correct.
Yep.
Otherwise, if you get into trouble, it's really difficult to rectify that given you haven't even started.
Yeah, and I'll just add on a kind of spin to that. I've also experienced as well for some of our students. There are now video calls that Amazon does as well, actually,
Yeah.
with new sellers. It shouldn't be something that you necessarily nervous about, as long as you can just
Yeah.
give them your information. They're actually trying to help you get set up. So I think that's the key. The other thing I would say though is absolutely, I think Ben is right. They're going to try and match everything up. So it's a bit of game that you have to play just in terms of account setup, unfortunately. However, don't overthink what the name is of the company or what the name is of the store or what the name is of the brand. Very common question we get. Should I name it this or that? I would advise go through Amazon and you'll see, no disrespect to Chinese sellers, but you'll see them come up with all kind of names that are just kind of jumbles of letters. That's what their brand name will be. Their address won't make any sense because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. As long as you've set it up correctly, everything is matching in terms of verification. It doesn't matter what your name is. Don't spend 2 months coming up with the perfect name only to find later it's already trademarked. Anything you'd add to that,
Exactly.
man?
Absolutely. And yeah, I would actually say in the very beginning, don't overcomplicate it. And the company name only matters to you and the HMRC. It's not going to be publicly visible to most people, or no, unless somebody wants to do research into the company. It only matters that you have a separate entity away from you. The brand name, if you're going to build a brand later on down the line, the trademark, you may want to consider thinking of names a little bit later on down the line, but that is way further in advance. And this is why I speak about on my mentorships as well, is you need to just get started. Let's get started first. Let's use that path, and then we will consider, because you don't know what you're going to sell. You don't know what your brand is going to be. People are overthinking it in the very beginning, in my opinion, and therefore overcomplicating it as well. It doesn't have to be this complex initially. It will get more difficult in later down the line. But in the very beginning, it's just setting up the business bank, setting up the business, setting up the seller account, and you having a full-fledged dashboard. Now you're ready for product research.
Yep, absolutely. So let's move on to section 2. And I don't want to spend too much time on this because we talk about product research a lot on YouTube anyway. Before we get on to the research section, I've got one very common question I get asked all the time, and I'll ask Ben as well. Please comment below if there are any parts of kind of account setup or any parts of the process that you really struggle with, because we can do separate content on that. And later in the video as well, I'm going to link you to Ben's own YouTube channel where he actually goes through a lot of this in depth as well, and he puts his own spin on it, because like I said, there's not only one way to do things, there are several different ways to do things, and it's the pros and cons. So Ben, over to you first. In terms of research, what would you say is a common question you get again and again, or a common thing that kind of crops up with our students?
Yeah, the main common question, and this is, to be completely honest, throwing a dig at the American YouTubers, is that they give you a very specific guidelines, and it gets into people's heads, and because of those guidelines, they think there is nothing to sell on Amazon. They have to fit in a shoe. The product has to fit in a shoebox. It has to be between 5 and 15 pounds. It has to be a certain weight, and it has to be airshipped, and so on. And the main question I'm getting from people is just Amazon is just overly saturated. It's overly competitive, and so on and so forth. And myself and yourself as well, we continue to release new products that seem to be doing quite well. And the reason why that is because we look at it completely differently. We look at what's the gap in the market, what's new, what people are looking for, and that's what we release. If there's, for example, one of the most competitive niches in the market right now is yoga mats. But if you can come up with a new, different shape, different sized yoga mat that is better than everybody else, then go for it, do it, and you will be able to make sales, in my opinion. The reviews and everything that people will get bogged down so much matter to a certain degree given its customer feedback, but it's not 100% guarantee you're going to be on the first page. Given that a lot of new products, I always give that example of what happens to the old iPhone when a new iPhone comes in. The new iPhone comes in and it's on the first page like that. And the reason why is because customers are looking for it. And it doesn't have any reviews. The older iPhone gets pushed down because it's now out of date. So if you can find the new iPhone effectively and bring it out to the market, which whatever niche it may be, you have a very, very good chance of selling really well, regardless of the reviews, regardless of the niche.
Yep, completely agree. I think, and the other thing, I think is a general business kind of obstacle. It's a mindset thing. So people will look for doubts. For example, they will say, I need to have a network of people where I can get reviews initially to launch. I've launched so many products with 0 reviews that make
Yep.
sales on day
Yep.
one. So
Yep.
immediately I've debunked that myth. Or then there'll
Yep.
be another myth, this particular niche is too saturated. I've launched probably several products in that niche that have done really, really well. So I completely agree. Experience really helps, obviously, because once you overcome all of these myths, but also you have to not have too many limiting beliefs in your mind when you
Yep.
first start this. You have to be open-minded, not over analyze. So the example I would use, very common question I get, slightly different, is people ask me all the time, they've got limited kind of budget. So they've got, say, £800, and they're like, well, Sajad, I'm looking to launch 3 products, but do you think I could squeeze a 4th in? And it makes me laugh, obviously, now to look back, but I was probably thinking the same thing a few years ago. You have to have a little bit more capital when it comes to first
Yeah.
launching, because you have to think about the restocking as well. It's not just you launch your product and then that's it, magic happens and suddenly you get all of this money. You have to have capital set aside or coming in to kind of restock quickly in time to keep the ball rolling. Any comments quickly on that one, Ben?
Yes, I agree with capital, and I think on the mindset side of things, majority of my students are very low confidence because of so much of the information overload, and because they don't have any experience. I think the confidence is definitely that is lacking,
Yes.
and it comes with experience. It comes over time. You just can't say to somebody, "Oh, be confident." It's something you should be aware of and something to build on going forward. On the budget side of things, I was under the impression I completely would agree with you about half a year ago, because in
Yes.
my opinion, yes, you needed a grand and above. However, I've now realized that if you explore the niches, let's say, for example, I was able to release a product, COVID related product that is
Okay.
dirt cheap. And I'm talking 30 cents per unit. And I
Yes.
was able to make £3 profit on that, each and every single unit. And it's a shame, obviously, we can't show off or tell our products and stuff, but that product initial inventory cost me £300, and I
Yes.
was able to make around 3,000. So
Yes.
it really depends. You can go with a low budget. Of course, higher budget means more options, means more advertising, means
Yes.
means more money spent potentially on a course or a mentorship and stuff like that. You are on a better footing. But even if you have £600-700, there's nothing stopping you selling a £5 product, and getting that experience. You're not going to be a millionaire,
But
but
you
what
can't
you are
do
going.
3 products though.
No, but no, of course not. That's stupid.
Yeah.
But one product to
One
get the
product. Absolutely.
experience,
Yes.
and to get the knowledge and some confidence, which is really lacking, is
Yes.
really useful. And
Completely
even if
agree.
it fails, I mean, you lost what, £500-600? It's not the end of the world.
Yeah. And actually, worst case scenario, a lot of the time is break even, to be honest, with a first set of products. And also a slight kind of mindset point there as well. We'll probably come back to this, but it's a little bit more longer term you have to think with regards to this. So your first kind of set of inventory, which a lot of the time is limited to 200 anyway, you're not going to
Yeah.
make millions off that first set. But if that product keeps selling for a long period of time, the return will be higher. And that takes me nicely on to section number 3. So again, just discussing some of the most common questions we get. I'll ask you first, Ben. When it comes to kind of suppliers, shipping, is there one kind of question you get again and again that you think?
There's a multitude of questions, because again, it's something that a lot of people have never dealt with in the past, including myself. It's speaking to somebody, a foreigner, completely on the other side of the world is quite daunting in the very beginning. But the most daunting part is paying them. You're
Yeah.
paying effectively whatever it is, £500, £1,000, £2,000, and in my case now, £10,000, can be quite stressful, because you don't know what they're going to do with that money. But the beautiful thing about Alibaba is that, and I teach that in my mentorship as well, is that as long as you keep the conversations with your suppliers all legitimate on the platform, you are relatively safe. Okay, you're not 100% safe, but you're covered by the Alibaba trade assurance. So
Yes.
don't be worried too much. Okay, I have personally, I don't know if you have got that experience, but I've had 3 refunds now from Alibaba because I wasn't happy with the products, I wasn't happy with the shipping time and so on, and they are quite helpful. It's kind of like Amazon of China in a way.
Yeah.
But just for people that haven't never ever spoken to Chinese people, well, suppliers before, make sure to be as clear as possible. Okay, imagine you're speaking to a 5-year-old where you clarify absolutely everything, because if it's not clear, it's 50-50 fault. You know, it's them not understanding, but you not explaining it properly.
Good point. Yeah, I would completely agree with that. I find Alibaba support useless. That's that's just me. But to be honest, Amazon are not great either when it comes to seller
Yeah,
support. But you just have to get on with it. If you need to mither somebody, you need to send them 20 emails one day
yeah,
after the other. You just do it. This is part of business. You have to learn to be
yeah,
persistent in
yeah,
places where you need to be persistent. And remember, any hardship you come across in any business, that is a great area to learn, and is completely normal. Life is hard, whatever your background, it doesn't matter what your background it is.
yeah,
You're not going to be able to avoid that. So welcome it and just, I would say, just get on with it. And
yeah,
my kind of most common question here, I'm sure Ben's had it as well with our students, is where do you send the inventory? Now it's changed a little bit, obviously, because of kind of inventory limits, but do you send it home? Do you send it to Amazon?
yeah.
Again, there's no right answer here, I don't think. So it really does depend. But in my opinion, if you have the capacity and you're a complete beginner, there's no harm in selling it to your home address first. You can have a look at the inventory, send it in
Yeah.
batches to Amazon, just kind of get used to the process. What do you think about that, Ben?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's no one shoe fits all here because, perfect example between me and you. I mean, I live in a 1-bedroom flat where I can't have any inventory, whereas you are fortunate to have a field of of a garage effectively,
Yeah.
and you can store all of your products. So it really, which is why the course and the mentorships really help out, because we speak to people and figure out their situation and what's most good for them effectively. But one thing that I do advise for people is not to buy crazy big products. I mean,
Yes.
massive products, because in initial stages, if you buy something like that, you're really putting yourself more at risk. Because if those products don't sell, you're going to have shit ton of inventory either at your house or in Amazon paying storage fees. So it's better if you start off with a relatively decently sized product, a smaller sized products, and then you can move on from that. But for me, for example, personally, given I don't have that much space at my own flat, then I have to take that into consideration for pretty much each and every single one of my products, because I can't just call them back and store them in my bathroom or something like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, absolutely. And this is what actually we tell all of our students is, I think as a beginner, it's the two things that are kind of the big challenge are, one, knowledge, and one is
yeah,
hustle as well. Because a lot of people, yourself included, myself, when I was working in
yeah,
hospital, we were still doing 9 to 5s or even shift
yeah,
work and doing Amazon on the side, which is very easy to do. However, to make the process easier and to make it less likely that you'll give up in online business, you need to reduce the hassle. And also you need to account for the fact that you don't have the full kind of requisite knowledge at the moment. Easiest way to do that: sell light products, limit the amount of inventory, send it to your house first. Don't overcomplicate the process in terms of getting your listing set up. Actually, that takes us nicely on to the fourth section. So I would call this section the whole launch in general. So the whole launch, getting sales, getting reviews. What would be kind of your one most common question you get asked, or the one most common issue people have that you think is stumbling
Um,
block?
it's mostly, actually, it's not really a question. It's most people just looking at getting me to look at their listing and stuff
Yes.
like that. And I don't think it's a question that I would like to comment. Is the fact that people just really, really undervalue the aspect of pictures. Okay, they think if I can just copy and paste pictures from Alibaba, I will be able to make sales. And the key, guys, and I can't stress this enough, is to make yourself stand out. Whether it's different product, it's better listing, it's better pictures. Okay, and if your product is exactly the same as somebody else's, and you might even be using the exact same pictures as somebody else, you are not going to get sales, given that you don't have reviews, you don't have ranking or anything like that. So when it comes to product launch, people undervalue it's the pictures. Number one priority is pictures, pictures, pictures. Everything else comes second. The PPC campaigns will not work if your pictures are crap.
Yes.
Your title and your keywords are not going to work if your pictures do not show off your product well
Yes.
enough. Sometimes the listings that I look at, I can't even zoom in on them. They are
Yes.
blurred. I mean, and if I'm not going to buy it, and I straight up ask the student, would you buy from yourself? looking at what you have. And
Great
in some
question.
cases, they themselves say no. Well, then why would you expect somebody else to buy it from? You
Yeah.
know, and you can't shortcut this process. It's a hassle that you can't cut corners on, because if you
Yep.
do, you will notice it straight away. Whether it's
Mm.
learning Photoshop, whether it's you know, getting somebody else, a designer or something that we offer as well on our course, to get the pictures done right. So you know for a fact you got the best possible chance of selling. Okay, you can't cut corners when it comes to just product launch in general at all.
Yeah, completely agree. And actually, we offer this as a separate kind of
Yeah,
service for all of our students. We actually do the listing optimization for you, including all of the professional product images. And the reason I think Ben is definitely right here is because just think back to those of you who are customers who have ordered products on Amazon. Which device did you use to order? More often than not, it's your mobile phone. And when you were ordering an Amazon product, did you actually read through the description or did you just flip through the images? That's why
yeah,
it's important to sell the product on the images and actually have a lot of your text describing the product. You can actually add it to the image. That's what actually sells a product nowadays. Nobody reads through spiel the same way nobody reads through lengthy blog posts online. They watch video content like this. If we had a transcript of this discussion, I don't think anybody would want to read it. I mean,
absolutely.
there may be
No,
some people, but video is
yeah,
better, I
no,
think.
it's true. It's true. Just when, you know, us, most of our sellers are shoppers as well, and we need to kind of look back and think what's making us buy this particular product. And
Yes.
in some cases, it's going to be the price a lot of the time. In a lot of the time, it's going to be the pictures as well, and in some cases, it's the reviews. And people are also, another question I get is that how do I get my first 200 reviews? And I'm
Yes.
thinking, get 10. Okay, that will do a decent enough job. Get 10 5-star reviews and you're good to go. It's the incremental changes later on down the line that don't mean as much. People, again, look way far in advance. You know, just get down to the basics first and foremost, and then we can talk about it later.
Yeah, the strange thing with reviews is I'm convinced now is actually better than even when I first started. And people are like, how is that possible? There's a lot more sellers.
Mhm.
I have a feeling it's, I mean, obviously the customer base has grown and because of all of the lockdowns and stuff, more people are ordering online. We know that. But
Yeah,
I think it's because of Amazon, because they're cracking down so much on the other kind of shady methods a lot of sellers, more experienced sellers, were using to get thousands of reviews on their products overnight, because they're really clamping down, removing all of these reviews. I think it makes it fairer when you launch a new product. So you're talking about 10 reviews or moving up to 200 reviews. I would say one, you just get one
yeah,
review.
yeah,
As long as the niche is good and your product is
yeah,
half decent, you should be able to make sales with just one review, a tiny
yeah,
bit of social proof. I don't think
yeah, yeah.
customers care as much about reviews as they may have done 3 4 years ago, because everything you order
100%.
online right now, even on
Yeah,
Argos or something, they all have
yeah,
reviews now, and people know that a lot of these reviews can be faked anyway. So they'd rather
yeah,
make the decision on the kind of product images and
yeah,
maybe kind of one or two reviews. Now, what I would add in terms of a common question is absolutely what Ben has kind of covered as an issue for new sellers, but also it's the A9 algorithm. Because what I found is Amazon will give you a bit of a kind of grace period when you first launch a product, but actually to get more reviews, even if your images are world class, your reviews are world class, that doesn't matter as much as just getting sales. The whole
yeah,
feedback loop on the A9 algorithm is sales feeds
yeah,
more sales.
yeah,
So you can't launch like kind of like too slow. You can't just rely on organic methods alone. You have to really push promotions, consider reducing the price of your product. And we
yeah,
cover many, many strategies, as you know, Ben, with our students. But I think that's really important, because if you go too slow, then
yeah,
Amazon will save that not very good data about your product in their
yeah,
algorithm. So it's
yeah,
difficult to kind of get things going later down the line. What do you think about
yeah.
that?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Yeah, I think sales, at the end of the day, Amazon is a business, and Amazon makes money not off reviews, they make money off sales. And the more sales your business can, your product can bring, regardless of the amount of reviews, the higher you're going to rank. And the algorithm is perfect because in the very beginning, a lot of people are not they're not fussed too much. You know, if I just make a sale a day or anything like that, I don't need to run PPC. But that's not how it works. Amazon effectively, from my experience, gives you a trial period of about 5 days the second you launch your product. And they are, because your product is new, they have absolutely no data how your product is going to do well. So it gives your product a chance, okay? And you need to maximize that chance as much as possible. You need to use the correct product launch strategies to make sure that the data that your Amazon gets on your product is amazing, okay? And then that will promote them to show your product on the first page, continue showing that product on the first page, regardless if you have 1 review, 0 reviews, 100 reviews,
Doesn't
okay?
matter.
As long as it's getting sales, that's what matters the most, which is why PPC, optimized PPC is very important in the very beginning. Break-even price, or even maybe a price that's you might be losing a little bit of money, is very important in the very beginning to give a reason for people to buy from you. Pictures, they have to be done by now. You shouldn't be doing pictures whilst your product is live. Your product listing should be completely done the second your product is live, okay? You shouldn't be any editing or anything like that. You should be good to go.
Yep.
And these things are urgent in a way, because you're using that valuable time to figure things out, and that's not how it should be.
Yep, absolutely. Everything should be perfect and set to go.
Yeah.
Completely agree. So moving on to the final section. And as I say, if you have any questions at any time, just comment below. We'll do kind of separate videos about that. So the final section, I've just kind of put it all together into scaling. Now,
Yeah.
I get one question I'm asked all the time, and I'll go first for this one. It's, look, Sajad, I want to sell in Sweden, Pakistan, Uganda, Faroe Islands, all of these places worldwide. And I'm just thinking, you're hearing now from 2 sellers, multiple 7-figure sellers. And I think Ben, you're the same. But for me, majority of sales have been here in the UK. And obviously, we're speaking mainly to the UK, but basically, if you're watching in the US, Australia, Canada, you should be fine as well. In my opinion, there's no need to worry about adding complexity to your business by launching in all of these other marketplaces where you don't understand the language. You'd have to get professional translation. You'll have to relaunch all of your product. You'll have to get your inventory sent there. And obviously, very likely, you don't have a home there where you could hold inventory as well. Why would you do that over just launching an extra product in the same marketplace? What do you think about that, Ben?
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I've been selling now for 2.5 years, and 97% of my revenue comes from the UK marketplace. And the reason, and it's for me, it's the simple saying of, if it's not broke, don't fix it. You want to improve your knowledge, you want to get better on Amazon UK. But if you start selling in Poland and Netherlands, and you're just adding so many more hassles to your business. Effectively, one of the main attractions of Amazon is the fact that it's passive, okay? The fact that you can start selling and you don't have to watch over it every minute of every day. But now, if you have active marketplaces in 7 or 10 different countries, you are creating so much more work for yourself. Yes, there may be more revenue potentially, but you are potentially putting a lot more at risk as well. And in my opinion, if you're going to go that route, you need to start looking to employing full-time people that can speak that native language, that can help you out, because one person can only do so much, in my opinion. I think diversification is important, but it's not necessarily to Amazon Spain or Germany. You may want to start selling potentially some on eBay, or you may want to start set up your own Shopify store. But again, you need to figure out, when it comes to scaling, it's not the knowledge that is lacking, it's not the money that is lacking, it's the time. And time is so important for us. So if I'm looking to scale right now, I'm looking to scale for somebody to actually take off some of the workload that I have, so I can do other things. So I think when it comes to scaling, I think virtual assistants is a very important part that we should talk about, because it's something that can be really beneficial to your business if you know what to do effectively. But going to different countries, if it's not in your native language, then I don't think that's a good idea. I mean, I had the problem, and just to kind of wrap it up, I guess, in a way, because of Brexit, I have had quite a lot of inventory out in the EU. And because of the border closures, it was really, really a pain in the ass to get those inventory back to the UK, because that's where I wanted to sell them. So I actually had to speak to my auntie, who I haven't spoken to 6 years, to try and get those inventories out to Lithuania and then smuggle them across into the UK effectively, so then I could send them back and get them sold. And it's just such a hassle for 2 boxes of inventory. So imagine if there was 30, 40 boxes of inventory. It's just so much just stress effectively that's just not necessary.
No, I completely agree. Just not worth it. And we show our students, I show on the training how to opt out of the EU. So if
Yeah,
you just want to sell in the UK, you just want to launch products
yeah,
here, I don't want to hear, oh, you can't find a product that does this, that many thousand a month
yeah,
and stuff like that. You absolutely can. UK market is huge right now.
yeah.
What I'll do is, if you guys are enjoying podcast type content like this, we'll do another catch up as well with you, Ben, soon. And we'll cover some other kind of aspects people have been asking about. But also in the description below, I'm going to link Ben's channel. He also goes through many, many aspects of selling on Amazon. And he also shares some of his own experiences. So when you've had a challenge, Ben, I know you've had many, along the way, you actually share some of your experiences. I've
Yes.
seen some of your videos about getting scammed on Alibaba and
Yep.
related ones. And I think that's really useful for viewers to see as well, because you see, yes, there's a good side of Amazon, but not a negative side as such, but there are challenges to be overcome and experiences to be learned. So any final words you have, Ben, on that?
Yeah, on my channel, I kind of want to give a different perspective because what on YouTube, what people sell effectively is Amazon is dead in 2021, and this is why, and so on and so forth. I want to show the real side of things. Okay, the truth is you can make a lot of money on Amazon in the UK this year and for the foreseeable future. It's the truth, and I agree with it. I think Sajid agrees with it. A lot of people would agree with it too. But the reason why I created my channel is I wanted to show quite a lot of first-hand experience, is that even me, after 3 years, I still have a lot of struggles that you guys will as well. I still go through the same scammy, shady suppliers that you will probably speak to. I still have to go through Amazon customers that want to get refund and keep the products and so on and so forth. So many things that I want to ideally relate to you guys to show you that this painful process that you're going through right now, that's not showing any results, will not last forever. Sooner or later, you will start to make sales, and hopefully you'll build some confidence. Hopefully you'll have some motivation, and you'll continue to keep going.
Fantastic. Thanks for that, Ben. So we'll catch up with everybody again very soon. Thanks very much for listening. And thanks, Ben.
Bye-bye.